Hello, folks. I'm live. Don't know how long it'll last because for about 2 weeks, I had with this platform kept locking up, and may happen. If it does, I'll jump over to StreamYard, but hopefully I won't have to do that. All right, so I have two 40% alcohol. Um, 80 proof. I'm trying to do 8 in reverse. 80 proof. Um, 80 proof, 40% alcohol Kentucky bourbon whiskeys. I didn't do any taste challenges this weekend. Past weekend, I was at baseball games, NCAA Division One college baseball games. This is G&W Gooderham and Wirtz. Gooderham and Wirtz Private Stock Kentucky Sour Mash Bourbon Whiskey, introduced in 1933. It's aged 3 years, which is actually longer than it's required. So it's not a cut rate super minimum product because that would be a 2-year age. So it is aged 3 years, which is not required to be. It's bottled by G&W Distillers, well, really Laird Company, Scobeyville, New Jersey. It says from selected reserves. So it's a sourced whiskey, or if you live in Scotland, they call it a private. No, they call it an independent bottling. Sorry. I'll get it right. Independent bottling whiskey. So it's an independent company, Laird, who sources the whiskey from another producer and says, okay, we want to buy this. We'll put our name on it. Okay, yeah, write the contract. They do it. All right, I bought this at Elio's Wine Warehouse in New Orleans, Louisiana, right close to Tulane University. And they had a great deal on it. I never heard of it before. I never heard of Gooderham and Wirtz, G&W, introduced in 1933. But for $8 a liter, I was on that. $8 a liter. Not the normal price. Just be warned, you're not going to see it. More than likely, you're not going to see it for $8 a liter. You might see it for $18 a liter. Probably more like 23, but Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. No coloring, no flavoring added. Aged 3 years. Okay, sour mash like the old crow. Kolila says Herbie in India. Kolila. I've had Kolila. All right, it's good. Here is genuine Kentucky bourbon whiskey distilled in Kentucky. That makes sense. Kind of obvious. Also aged 3 years. Nowhere on the bottle do they claim that it's straight bourbon. I don't know why it would not be straight bourbon, because it's aged 3 years, which is a year longer, and it's all from Kentucky. So I don't know. There's the seal of excellence, a wax seal of excellence, but really not wax, just a drawing. So yeah, so I don't know why they. I don't know why they do label it as bourbon. I'm sorry, straight bourbon. It says bottled by Wide World Importers, Frankfort, Kentucky, aged 3 years, bourbon. I paid $15.99 for this bottle. This is a huge bottle, and I paid $15.99. That's pretty much the cheapest bourbon you can get in America. Now, yeah, I can get 10 High for $15.99, but 10 High is not a true bourbon. It's a bourbon with natural flavors. This is a true bourbon. It's not claiming any natural flavors. Still don't know why it's called not called straight. But anyway, whatever, I can't control. Winn-Dixie was founded in 1955, owned by Southeast Grocers. They also own Harvey's, which is a common grocery store in Florida and Georgia, which I've never seen in Louisiana. Hector says, cheers, Ronald. Just had a small glass of Barefoot Pinot Grigio wine from Modesto, California with beans and chorizo. Well, that sounds very good. And I think Barefoot was bought out by E&J Gallo, right? They didn't start it. I know Barefoot was started by an independent company, but E&J Gallo said, here's the money. And they looked at the amount. Oh, we'll sell out, that kind of thing. I'll show you the websites. Well, let me pour these, then we'll take a quick look at the websites, which aren't very informative, I might add, but they are in existence. Yes, E&J Gallo owns them. I thought so. They bought them out. Didn't start it, but bought them out. Okay. A little bit too much. My friend David was like, "You pour yourself a double." I said, "That's a miss pour," because I said, "I'm trying to save them. I'm trying to be conservative with them and keep them for taste challenges." He said, "No, if it's a whiskey you like, you pour yourself a double." I said, "No, I've poured doubles for stuff that I didn't really like that much. It's just a miss pour." John Anile, one of my moderators. Good afternoon, Ron. Good afternoon to you, John Anile. All right, let's do the appearance. So the Winn-Dixie, you can see the WD liquors is much lighter. It's like a light amber. And the G&W Gooderham and Wirtz is more amber, more copper, sorry. Now, interesting about Gooderham and Wirtz, they were the company that introduced Canadian Limited. No, retraction. That was Fleischmann's. Rich and Rare. We've all heard of, most of us have heard of Rich and Rare. In fact, I was at a store today and I saw that they had some that arrived. Rich and Rare had arrived from Kentucky via Canada, or Canada via Kentucky. Said it backwards. Rich and Rare was introduced in 1961 by Gooderham and Wirtz. Like I said, it was a company. It was pretty big, moderate size, a distillery. But they got bought out by Barton. Barton sold off some of the stuff like G&W to Laird, but they kept some of their products like Canadian Limited, which is still pretty popular in Louisiana. I can't speak for other states, but Canadian, keep saying that. Oh, Rich and Rare, or as the label says, if you look at the label carefully, it says R and R, letter R, and sign and R. And then real small below it says Rich and Rare. Rich and Rare is popular in Louisiana. It does have a following, as evidenced by the fact that the stores keep it in stock and they always bring in fresh samples. Now, if you want to go a little higher grade, there's a Rich and Rare Reserve, which is aged longer, and it's doesn't say whiskey with natural flavors. It's Canadian whiskey, and but it's not much more expensive. A little bit more, but not much more. Now I know with Canadian Limited, which I kept saying earlier, there's a no, I might be thinking of Royal Canadian. Maybe I'm thinking of Royal Canadian, also owned by Sazerac, who bought Barton. There's a 12-year age Royal Canadian, a red label, but try finding that. Let's look at the websites for what they're worth, which isn't much. There's a G&W, just shows a bottle shot, which obviously a photograph they took at their distillery. Now, there's also the Private Stock 86 proof, age 5 years, 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% malted barley. Probably the same mash bill as the regular G&W, but it's 80 proof, so it's higher proof, more alcohol, and it's age 5 years instead of 3. So they're probably the same product, like literally the same product. One age 3 years, one age 5, one 80 proof, one 86. And there's your difference. Now here's WD bourbon. Winn-Dixie bourbon, maybe introduced in 1955, maybe a little later, but I've been seeing it since I was a little kid. Didn't pay any mind to it, but I know I've seen it. Comes with a plastic bottle. They don't waste time with glass at Winn-Dixie. Actually, they do have some private labels that are glass, but the offer runs until December 28th of this year. So you better hurry up. You only have till December 28th, according to this website, to get this bottle for $15.99. And then you have to buy that. And there's some russet potatoes. Buy one, get one free. So that's what, $5.49. Let's see, half of 5 is $2.50. Half of 50 is 25. $2.75 for 5 pounds. I can get it cheaper than that. Okay. There you go. You have to go in to show your ID. Not a big burden, but you have to do that. Okay. Hold on just a second. My nose is a little stuffy from either allergies or sleeping under this cold vent Friday night. I felt chilled, Friday night. I felt like I was getting a chill, and I didn't enjoy that. All right, anyway, so there you go. Will I be able to tell these apart? Maybe. They're pretty similar. Age 3 years. They're both from Kentucky. One is sour mash. The other one does not make that claim. This is from Sazerac. What does it say? Oh, it says bottled by Wide World Importers. Oh, well, yeah. Maybe they bought it on auction. You say, well, why would a bourbon distiller who makes their own bourbon, buy more bourbon on an auction? Well, the answer would be very obvious, because they got it super cheap. And I've read articles that say these bourbon companies trade bourbon. Heaven Hill, Sazerac, Barton, Glenmore, Fleischmann's. Well, Fleischmann's under Glenmore now. Wild Turkey, Jim Beam, George, unless in Tennessee. But I read that they trade. They have auctions. They'll trade, or they'll just straight up trade with each other. Sounds crazy, sounds strange, but apparently that's what they do. Now, do beer companies trade? I never heard about that, but they do contract brew with each other. Make deals where we'll brew your beer if you do such and such. All right. So I'm going to have to close my eyes, because if I glance down and see the darker appearance, it's going to be obvious that it's the G&W. Now, so far in these taste challenges, I think I'm standing at 7-1-1. 7 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie. I'm pretty sure that's where I am. 7 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie. 1 tie. I could have made a mistake, but this could bring me to 8-1-1. Campfire Music by AEGF says, hey, hello you. Now, smells like corn flour, charred oak, corn flour, charred oak. Yeah, that kind of thing. That type of thing, yeah. A little vanilla. Basically, it smells like what you think of when you think of bourbon. Nothing special, but nothing off kilter or bad, just kind of regular. I can deal with regular, especially $8 a liter or $15.99 a 1,750 milliliter, 1.75 liters. Whoops. Um, yeah, smells like the same type of thing. Charred oak, corn, cornmeal, corn flour, corn starch, something corn. Uh, Now, are they using super heavy charred oak, charred oak barrels on these? I doubt that. Probably a medium char, like a 2 or a 3. Uh, number 2 or number 3 char, age 3 years. This one uses the sour mash method. This one doesn't claim to. Usually they'll claim it if they do it. Are they charcoal filtered? I don't know. They don't make that. They don't make any statement to that effect. They're probably just chill filtered. Um, I mean, we talking about pretty basic products. I don't think they're going to go into too great. I don't think they're going to make a very complicated bourbon production for something so inexpensive. But the most important part is, does it taste okay? Is it nasty or moderate or pretty good? Here we go. The aroma is all right. I mean, the appearance is okay and the aroma is okay. Better than Jim Beam? Nah. Better than Evan Williams? No. Better than Ezra Brooks? No. But certainly not worse. I don't think they're worse. And those are your big 3 bourbon brands, right? Jim Beam, Ezra Brooks, Evan Williams. You know what I mean? Like in all the stores and everything. Especially Jim Beam and Evan Williams. I mean, your big 3 inexpensive brands. I know Wild Turkey and all that's popular too. This one's very vanilla-ish. Very vanilla-ish. Are they adding vanilla? Absolutely not. How do we know they're not adding vanilla flavoring? It would have to say it on the bottle. Does not say it. These are actual bourbons. These are true bourbons. These are not bourbon flavored concoction items. And there's some of them lingering around or lurking around. Okay. Well, corn, vanilla, charred oak, but much more charred oak over here. Much more charred oak. So the flavors are not the same. Now, who makes G&W? We don't know. Could be Sazerac, could be Buffalo Trace, but it also could be Jim Beam, could be Heaven Hill. This we do not know. And we're not going to know because they're not going to disclose it. They don't want people to know. Now, some people might say, it's just an MGP bourbon from Indiana. Well, that's not possible. That's impossible. Okay. Trust me, that's impossible. That cannot happen with these 2 products. So just forget MGP. It ain't coming from there. You say, what if it's Luxro? Well, then it could be coming from there because MGP owns Luxro. Craft Beer Tastic says Henry McKenna is another popular cheaper bourbon. Oh, yeah. That's right. Yes, you're right. Also from Heaven Hill. And that's a 3-year. I'm pretty sure it's a 3-year age, or is it a 4-year? Oh, non-aged. But it's 80 proof, and it's sour mash. Now the label says since 1837 or something like that. Yeah, well, well, not exactly, but maybe more like 1964. But why let facts interrupt our fantasy? But yeah, Henry McKenna is popular. Now you can go up the ladder and pay a whole lot more for Henry McKenna, a whole lot more than $9.99 a bottle. Oh yes. And I'll say something about Henry McKenna. It does punch above its weight. Like you might write it off and say, Henry McKenna, that's $9.99. I'm not going to buy it. I found it for $8.99 once. But I think you're selling yourself short. I think you really should give it a chance. Now, a lot of people, you should never let them know what they're drinking. Just say, try this bourbon. What do you think? If you tell them it's Henry McKenna, they'll automatically hate it. But if you do it blind and say, try this, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I like the subtle complexities of how the corn interacts with the charcoal, and there's a noticeable rye aspect to it, and they'll go into all this detail. It's like, wow, you really like it, huh? Oh yeah, it's complex. And it's like, wow. They'll give you a good score, and you'll say, well, it is Henry McKenna. Oh yeah, I knew there was something wrong with it. And it's like, you didn't bring that up when you didn't know what it was. You neglected to mention that you found all these faults. But since I showed you the bottle, answer, I'm not sure what this is, but I'm going to make a good effort. A lot of char. Well, actually, a lot of char and vanilla. Well, okay. Drewski Brewski says Ronaldo Befaldo. No, he said Befaldo. I don't know who Ronaldo Befaldo is. Yeah, this one's nice. It's got a little more sourdough bagel to it. You say, not that again. What is it, Thomas or Lindors? Lindors. Oh, it's Lindors. I don't know. No, it's Tufayan. Tufayan sourdough bagel. It's great value. Actually, great value is pretty good. It's probably made by one of those three companies I just named, because there ain't no Walmart bakery. Both of these have a pretty noticeable rye component, like a pretty good spicy rye note. Like most of these bourbon whiskeys are blended whiskeys because they'll use corn, rye, and wheat, or malted barley, or both. But they usually have a pretty good rye note. Give it that mentholated menthol thing going. It's just like menthol, mint, like menthol, menthol, mint type of situation. And there'll be a little breadiness at the end. I think it's coming from malted barley, as they say in Scotland, single malt barley whiskey, which is not much of a thing in the United States. Although there's some liquor companies starting to produce single malt American whiskeys, because hey, why not ride that train? If people are running after it, trying to catch it, may as well drive it. I said ride that train. I mean drive the train. Did I say drive it? You know what I mean? Like you want to. I mean, if people are going to run after single malt whiskey, you may as well make it. And I'm not disparaging it. It might be very good. I can't say I never had it. Ronald the Royite. Who is Ronald the Royite? Royite. What is a Royite? What is a Royite? Yeah, I don't know that word. But this one here in my right side has a much more pronounced, stronger flavor. So I would prefer this one. Don't know what it is yet. It's got a more robust flavor and more charred oak, I think. Now I look down at it and it looked pretty pale. But then now I'm looking at it, it looks kind of dark. And the G&W was darker, and the Winn-Dixie, right? The WD was paler, or did I have it? No, I'm pretty sure it was the G&W was darker. So I'm thinking the G&W, I'm not cheating, I'm just speculating. I think the G&W, but I said that, I think it has a more robust character all across the board. Are you going to save a lot of money getting the WD over G&W? You might say pennies on the ounce. At least you get a glass bottle. DD says, laughing out loud. Yep. Yeah, drunk spelling. Now you got it right, Drewski Brewski. Ronald the Riot. Ronald the Riot. The Riot. The Riot. There Rio. There Rio. Terrio. Terrio. Okay, yeah. Sir, how? Butch Willie says, Sir, how the hell are you? You've been watching somebody else's beer reviews, huh? All right. I know. I'm subscribed to his channel too. Okay. I'm gonna say the one with the more complex flavor is the G&W. It is. I got it. I got it. I don't know if I mentioned that to y'all, but I got it. Now, is it a significantly better flavor? I don't know about all that. It's a little bit better flavor, but it's better. It's better. You know, it's better. Let's see. Let me calculate the price per ounce. Let's see. $15.99 divided by 750, 1750 times 1,000. Yeah. So it's not even cheaper. So the WD is actually more expensive per ounce. And I'm talking about for the sales price. Now this, you cannot really find this for $8 a liter. I don't want y'all to go out and say, well, hell, man, I went to my liquor store and they had G&W. It was $18.99 for that liter. What are you talking about? I get that. I found this for $8 even per liter, and it lasted about maybe over the weekend. So for they knew the Tulane game was going to be that day. I think they were playing Memphis, University of Memphis, or it was like Pittsburgh. It's like it was going to bring in a lot of people. So bringing a lot of people, they're going to find something to do before the game. They go in the liquor store, the wine warehouse, look around, say, oh, $8. So I did just what all the other people did, $8. And Tulane University, right across the street, a lot of students, they have exuberance parties, whatever, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, mostly Friday and Saturday. So yeah, I knew if I didn't buy it that day, I'd never see it again. I bought it that day, and I definitely never saw it again. They probably bought about 5 cases. So you say 12. I'm sorry, 6 bottles per case. 6 times 5 is 30. No, they probably bought 60 bottles. Yeah. Okay. So whatever. And they put it on display, and then people just went in there and wiped them out. And I was one of the people wiping them out. And I went and put it in my car, and I kind of hid it where people wouldn't see it, so they wouldn't break in. And after the game, this was like a year ago, 2 years ago. I think it was about a year ago. I brought it home and did the research. Oh, so Sir, how? So John and Illy said that's an incredible deal for a liter bottle. I know, I couldn't believe it, but I saw it and I thought, oh yeah, I got to buy it. So I bought the bottle. I walked all the way back up the highway. Had to go up the highway northbound, westbound technically, because that highway runs from Jacksonville Beach, Florida, to way out close to the Mexican border, like to Texas, almost to New Mexico. But actually, if you get on that highway and you stay on it, you'll literally get to the Mexican border. You'll just like ride along the river. If you can look over to your left, you see Mexico. So I was like, I gotta buy it, So I bought it, like I said, and it's been an enjoyable product, I have to say. So it's been on the market 92 years, and yeah, I can see why. Is it celebrated or famous? No and no. Is it competent and enjoyable? Yes and yes. Would I recommend it? I would recommend it. Actually, I would recommend it. It's enjoyable. It's pleasant. It. What about off flavors, off aromas? I'm not picking that up. You might, but I'm not. So yeah, Gooderham and Wirtz Sour Mash Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, $8 for this liter. An incredible find. An incredible find. It might have been 2 years ago actually when I bought it. I'm thinking a year, but maybe it was two. But you know what I mean. It was really nice. I remember the day was really sunny and kind of warm and kind of a little bit breezy. Beautiful fall day. Lots of fans coming in from that other town. You know, like I say, it might have been trying to think who they were playing. It might have been Memphis because Memphis is about 6 hours from New Orleans, and a 6 hour drive. You know, you leave at 6 in the morning, you're gonna be there for noon. So they're gonna bring in thousands of people because they got an excuse to go to New Orleans. You know, and then we have an excuse to go to Memphis the next year. So we've been to Memphis a couple of times, and that's very nice. So it's right up the interstate. So you can imagine. Same thing with Houston. Same thing about 6 hours. You know, it's going to bring in a lot of people. Yeah, and this WD bourbon, Winn-Dixie bourbon, I would recommend it. I wouldn't pay more than $15.99. So if you see it for $15.99, yeah, I'd buy it. But like I said, I would not go above that. It's like really, it's about the cheapest bourbon you can buy that's not flavored and not some bull hunk bourbon. You know what I mean? Like questionable bourbon. It's like actual bourbon. That's why they say on the bottle, genuine bourbon, no flavoring. Here comes the Kansas City Southern eastbound. 3 engines. That's a pretty long train. Driving from Kansas City to New Orleans to go south and then directly east. Think like a L shape. Get your hammer bull bombered for cheap. Yeah, I like a belt of Jack now and then, says DD. Yeah, I was going to buy the 10 high, but those natural flavors appalled me, says Butch Willie. Well, you know, I wouldn't be too concerned about that. It's just like vanilla and probably like, let's see, vanilla and, well, like John Anile says, I think it's like vanilla and almond extract. And Sazerac probably has a deal with some vanilla companies and almond extract companies are like, we're going to buy a lot of it. I mean, way more than you can imagine we're going to buy. You want to make a deal? And they're like, yeah, we'll make that deal. And they buy it and they just keep putting it in the liquor. Now, you might say that's a sign that the liquor is kind of inferior if they're going to put vanilla and almond extract in it. Well, yeah, that is a sign. That's obviously a sign of inferiority. But, I mean, you know, I mean, you're not paying nothing for it. So, you're not paying much for it. So, Butch Willie, I would say go for it. I mean, if it's bad, what have you lost? I mean, think about it. What have you lost, really? It's so cheap. But maybe I'm too easy to please. My friend David said, "You like everything. You like everything." I said, I don't like everything. Uh, in fact, I've had some products that were a nightmare, but those are not really common, you know. All right. Anyway, enough's enough. I've done enough of this. So the winner, I think the clear winner is the G&W. It's a better product. It is a better product, and I would pay more for it. I wouldn't pay a lot more. Paid more for it. The WD does it have any merit? Does it have anything to justify its existence? I think it does. Doesn't have a lot, but it's fine. You say I want the cheapest bourbon in the world. That doesn't make me disgusted. I think this is literally the cheapest bourbon in the world that won't make you disgusted. So Cheers to you, Winn-Dixie, for making the cheapest bourbon in the world that won't make me disgusted. And plus, they have a nice pen and ink drawing of a horsey and a jockey. I'm kind of kidding about it, kind of ridiculing it a little bit in a backhand way, but honestly, it's pretty popular around here. It sells at a pretty steady clip. Now, there's no way it would sell that steadily if it was horrible. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would not be just like coming off the shelves every day, every day, every day, every day. If people hated it, right? Makes sense to me. I also tried Sazerac Rye. Have you had it? I've had it many times. And Sazerac Rye is a great value in Louisiana. I can't speak for other states. But I kid you not, we can get Sazerac Rye. Some stores still sell it for a special, not normal price. For a special for $19.99 a bottle. I'm not kidding. I'm not joking. I'm not trying to be flip or sarcastic. $19.99 a bottle. I'm serious. I see people in Connecticut or Vermont, whatever, say, I paid $50. I say $50. It's $19.99. Now, if you get the regular price, it's like $23.99. But if you look in those sales ads in the paper, $19.99. Oh, it's a really good product. It's really good, and it's only been on the market 25 years. Like the way they make it look, you think it's been on the market since like George Washington, right? Nope. It's only been on the market 25 years. All right, y'all take care now. Bye-bye. Thanks everybody for watching. So do I have another bourbon taste challenge coming up? Yes, I do. Not tonight, obviously, but tomorrow morning, and it's going to be another one of these, bourbons that you can find. Going up against G&W. I don't think it's going to win, but we'll see.